The stars vanish one by one over Alaska. Not a cloud in the sky, just darkness eating the light. This was the third such event in a week. In observatories around the world, scientists watched with growing fear. Thomas Reed stood in the control room of the International Space Defense Force headquarters, his weathered face lit by the glow of screens showing the expanding dark zone. 20 years as a captain had taught him to stay calm in a crisis, but this was different. This was not a threat that bullets or bombs could stop. "How fast is it growing?" Thomas asked, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. "Doubling every 48 hours," replied Dr. Anna Miller, pushing her glasses up as she studied the data. "At this rate, it will reach Earth in 6 months." The room fell silent. 6 months before whatever this thing was, this cosmic storm that ate light, would swallow their world. "We need to tell the people," Thomas said. Before Anna could respond, every screen in the room flickered. The image of a tall, thin figure appeared. Its skin was pale blue, almost translucent, with large eyes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "People of Earth," the figure said in perfect English, though its mouth barely moved. "We are the Watchers. We have observed your civilization for many years. We come with grave news and an offer of help." Thomas felt the hair on the back of his neck stand up. First contact with alien life should have been a moment for celebration. Instead, it came with grave news. The being continued. "The phenomenon you have detected is known to us as the Void Storm. It has consumed thousands of worlds before yours. There is no defense against it. No civilization has ever survived its passing." Anna stepped forward. "But there must be something." The alien held up a long, 6-fingered hand. "There is not. We have watched this happen many times. The only option is partial evacuation. We can transport 10% of your population to safety. You have 6 months to select who will go." The screens went dark, then returned to their normal displays. The room erupted in voices. 10%. Someone shouted. "Who decides that?" "How do we know we can trust them?" asked another. Thomas raised his hand for quiet. "First things first. We verify everything they said. Anna, I want your team on this void storm. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with." In the next 3 days, governments around the world received the same message. Panic spread as the news leaked out. Markets crashed. Religious leaders proclaimed the end times. Military forces went on high alert. 1 week after the message, the Watchers returned. This time they spoke to a hastily assembled council of world leaders. Thomas stood at the back of the room, watching. "We understand your distrust," the alien representative said. "You may call me observer. I can show you the records of other worlds that faced the void storm." The large screen behind the world leaders displayed images of planets, beautiful worlds with rings, water, forests, all gradually being swallowed by growing darkness until nothing remained. None attempted to fight it. Asked the president of the African Union. "Many tried," Observer replied. "All failed. The physics of your universe simply does not allow for defense against the void. We offer evacuation because it is the only option." Thomas noticed something in the alien's tone, not sadness or empathy, but something closer to curiosity, like a scientist watching an experiment. Later, in a private meeting with top scientists and military leaders, Anna revealed her findings. "The void storm is real," she said, "but I'm not convinced it's unstoppable. Look at these readings." She pointed to a pattern in the data. "There's a pulse to it, a frequency. And where there's a frequency, there can be interference." Thomas finished her thought. Anna nodded. "Exactly. I think we might be able to disrupt it, maybe even redirect it. But we'd need a massive network of quantum emitters throughout the solar system." "Has anyone ever tried that before?" asked a general. "According to the Watchers, no," Thomas said. "And that's what bothers me. Why haven't they ever tried to stop this thing? Why just watch and evacuate?" The question hung in the air, unanswered but troubling. The next morning, Thomas found Anna in her lab, still working. Papers covered every surface. Computer screens showed strange patterns of the void storm. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep. "You look terrible," Thomas said, putting a cup of coffee next to her. Anna smiled weakly. "Thanks. You always know how to make a woman feel special." She took the coffee. "But I found something." She pointed to a screen showing waves of energy. "The void storm isn't just eating light. It's eating reality itself. But look here, it pulses. Every pulse has a pattern." Thomas looked but didn't understand the science. "Can we use this?" "Maybe." Anna stood and walked to a whiteboard covered in equations. "What if we create our own pulses? Counterpulses that push back against the void. Like fighting fire with fire. More like fighting a wave with another wave. They can cancel each other out." She drew a simple diagram showing two waves meeting and flattening. "We'd need to build huge quantum emitters in space, placed in a network around the solar system." Thomas nodded slowly. "How many?" 50, at least. Each one as big as a space station." The number hung in the air. It seemed impossible. 2 hours later, they presented the idea to world leaders. The observer was there too, watching from the corner with those strange absorbing eyes. "This is fantasy," said the Chinese president after Anna finished explaining. "We barely launched 3 space stations in 50 years. Now we need 50 in 6 months. The science is sound," Anna insisted. The observer stepped forward. "No civilization has ever attempted this approach. The void storm cannot be fought. We have seen it consume worlds far more advanced than yours." "But did they try this exact method?" Thomas asked. The observer paused. "No. But the chances of success are too small to measure." "Small is not zero," Anna said firmly. Arguments filled the room. Some leaders wanted to accept the Watchers' evacuation offer. Others demanded they try to fight. The American president stood up. "How would we choose who gets to leave? The rich, the smart, the young. Every choice tears humanity apart." She looked around the room. "I say we fight." The observer's voice cut through the noise. "You waste precious time. We offer salvation for some. You choose extinction for all." "No," Thomas said, stepping forward. "We choose to try what no one else has tried. That's what humans do. We don't accept impossible." The meetings lasted 3 more days. In the end, the vote was close, but the decision was made. Earth would fight. Project Lighthouse began the next day. Every major factory on Earth switched to making parts for the quantum emitters. Space agencies combined their resources. Countries that had been enemies for generations now worked together. Thomas was put in charge of deployment. Anna led the science team. They worked day and night, pushing themselves beyond exhaustion. 1 month passed. Then 2. The first emitter launched into space. Then the second. Then the third. They were falling behind schedule, but making progress. The Watchers watched it all. Most, like Observer, remained doubtful. But one day, as Thomas supervised the loading of equipment, he noticed a Watcher studying the quantum emitter designs. "You think this will fail," Thomas said to the alien. The Watcher turned those dark eyes toward him. "I am called Vex. I have watched 17 civilizations face the void. All accepted their fate. We're different." "Yes," Vex said quietly. "You are. And that interests me." That night, Vex approached Anna in her lab. The alien placed a small device on her desk. "This contains information about void storm patterns no human instruments could detect," Vex said. "Not all Watchers believe observation is enough." "Why help us?" Anna asked. "Because in 10,000 years of watching, no one has tried so hard to survive." Vex moved toward the door. Perhaps impossible is just a word for something no one has done yet. After Vex left, Anna studied the device. Her eyes widened as she understood what it showed. "Thomas," she called on her phone, her voice shaking with excitement. I think we actually have a chance. 3 months had passed since the world chose to fight. The void storm now covered a quarter of the night sky. People looked up and saw emptiness where stars once shined. The launch center buzzed with activity as the 10th quantum emitter prepared for takeoff. Thomas watched from the control room, his face tense. They were still behind schedule. 39 more emitters to go, and only 3 months left. Captain Reed, a young engineer, approached him. This is Marcus Jones. He just joined the team. Thomas shook hands with a tall man whose eyes looked too old for his young face. I hear you're the one in charge of this impossible mission, Marcus said with a small smile. Nothing's impossible, just very difficult, Thomas replied. Marcus nodded. That's why I'm here. I specialized in quantum engineering. Dr. Miller sent me to help speed things up. The launch countdown began. The rocket roared to life, pushing upward with its precious cargo. Thomas held his breath until it cleared the atmosphere. 10 down, 39 to go. Later that day, Thomas found Anna and Marcus hunched over a table covered with diagrams. We've been doing it wrong, Marcus was saying. If we reconfigure the emitter design, we can make them smaller but more powerful. Anna looked skeptical. The calculations. I ran them 3 times, Marcus insisted. Trust me, this will work and save us weeks of construction time. Thomas cleared his throat. So this new guy shows up, and suddenly we change everything. Marcus looked up. Captain, I understand your concern, but we don't have time for doubt. Look at the math yourself. Anna nodded slowly. He's right, Thomas. His design could be the difference between finishing in time and not. 2 weeks later, the new design proved its worth. Production speed doubled. The smaller emitters were easier to launch. Hope began to grow. Word spread to other planets facing the void storm. A message arrived from a distant world called Loom. Their people, crystal-like beings who communicated through light, had begun building their own emitters based on Earth's designs. Then came a message from water dwellers called the Marins. Then from the cloud-like Ori. Suddenly, Earth wasn't fighting alone. Observer was not pleased. You spread false hope, the Watcher told Thomas during an inspection of the main control center being built in orbit. When your plan fails, you doom others with you. Or we save everyone, Thomas replied. Observer's eyes narrowed. The Watcher Council has concerns about your collaboration with Vex. This goes against our protocol of non-interference. Maybe your protocols need changing. That night, Thomas couldn't sleep. Something bothered him about the Watchers. Why did they care so much about following evacuation protocols? Why did helping each other upset them? He decided to find Vex. The friendly Watcher might have answers. Thomas found Vex in Anna's lab, working with Marcus on emitter adjustments. I need to ask you something, Thomas said to Vex. Why do Watchers only watch? Why not help? Vex's large eyes blinked slowly. It began as scientific study. We observed extinction events to learn. Then it became tradition. Then law. But you're breaking that law, Marcus pointed out. Because I watched too many die. Vex's voice became softer. Do you know what Observer doesn't tell you? We don't just evacuate to save lives. We collect. Collect what? Anna asked. Data. DNA. Cultural artifacts. We have the largest library of dead civilizations in the galaxy. Thomas felt sick. You're not rescuers. You're collectors. Vex lowered his head. Some of us began to question this purpose. That is why I help you now. Marcus stood up suddenly. I think we can use this. If they've studied the void storm for thousands of years, they must know more than they've told us. Vex, Anna said gently, we need everything you know about the void storm. Not just the patterns, but its origin, its nature, everything. Vex hesitated, then reached into his robe. He pulled out a small crystal. This contains all Watcher knowledge of the void. Using it will mark me as a traitor to my people. Thomas took the crystal carefully. What made you change sides? Vex looked at the humans working tirelessly around them. In all my years watching, I never saw a species fight so hard against fate. You humans make the impossible seem possible. Outside, another rocket launched toward space, carrying humanity's defiance against the darkness. Anna couldn't believe what she was seeing. The crystal Vex gave them contained more than just data. It held the truth. The void storm isn't natural, she told Thomas and Marcus as they gathered in the secure room aboard the orbital station. It's a weapon. A weapon. Thomas leaned closer to the screen showing the translated Watcher files. Who would build something like this? A civilization called the Ancestors, Anna explained. They lived millions of years ago. They created the void storm to use against their enemies, but lost control of it. It destroyed them first. Marcus whistled softly. And it's been moving through space ever since, eating everything in its path. Yes, and the Watchers. Anna paused, her face showing disgust. They found the records of how it was made. They studied it. They followed it. But they never tried to stop it. Thomas pounded his fist on the table, because it gave them the perfect opportunity to collect specimens from doomed worlds. Their conversation was interrupted by an alarm. Red lights flashed throughout the station. "We've got a problem," a technician called out. Emitters 7, 12, and 15 just went offline. Thomas rushed to the control panel. What happened? Unknown, sir. They were working fine. Then suddenly, nothing. Marcus checked the diagnostics. This wasn't an accident. Someone knew exactly where to hit us to create gaps in the network. Thomas's eyes narrowed. The Watchers. That same day, representatives from the Lith Marins and Ari arrived at the station. They had traveled from their worlds to coordinate the defense network. The crystalline Lith glowed with changing colors as they spoke. The Marins moved in hovering water bubbles. The Ari drifted like colorful mists. "Our emitters are ready," said the Lith leader, a being named Glint, "but we received warnings from the Watchers that your plan will fail." They told us the same, bubbled Tide of the Marins. They offered evacuation instead. Thomas shook his head. They don't want us to succeed. They've been sabotaging our emitters. Because if we succeed, Anna added, their collecting days are over. Vex joined them, looking worried. Observer has called for my arrest. More Watchers arrive soon. They will try to stop you. The alien allies shared looks of concern. But then Drift, the Ari leader, spoke in a voice like gentle wind. For too long, we accepted the Watchers' word as final. If humans believe they can change fate, we stand with them. The other aliens agreed. Together, they formed a plan to protect the remaining emitters and fix the damaged ones. Marcus would lead the repair team. Thomas would confront Observer. Thomas found the head Watcher in the observation deck, staring at the growing blackness in space. "You sabotaged our emitters," Thomas said, his voice hard. Observer turned slowly. "We preserve knowledge. We save what matters. You collect trophies from the dead," Thomas shot back. "We know the truth about the Void Storm. We know it's a weapon." For the first time, Observer showed emotion. Surprise, quickly hidden. "How did you?" "Vex showed us everything. And now we know it can be stopped." Observer's eyes darkened. "Impossible. The void consumes all. Even the Ancestors couldn't control it. They tried to control it. We're trying to redirect it. There's a difference. You waste effort on a doomed cause." Thomas stepped closer. "No, we spend effort on hope. That's what makes humans different. We hope. We try. We act." In space, teams worked frantically to repair the damaged emitters. On Earth, the last devices were being launched. The Allied aliens coordinated their networks with Earth's. Meanwhile, Anna made a discovery that changed everything. The Void Storm responds to thought, she told Marcus as they reconfigured a repaired emitter. The Watcher files show it was controlled by mental commands from the Ancestors. So it's not just physics, Marcus said, understanding dawning. It's also consciousness. Anna nodded excitedly. The quantum network isn't just a physical barrier. It's a mental one, too. It needs to be guided by a mind. Whose mind? Anna looked at him seriously. Someone needs to link with the master control system when the storm hits. They need to direct the quantum field with their thoughts. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said softly, I'll do it. It could kill you, Anna warned. Marcus smiled sadly. I wasn't going to tell anyone, but I'm already dying. Brain tumor. Inoperable. Might as well make my end mean something. As they finished repairs, a fleet of watcher ships appeared in orbit. The final confrontation was about to begin. The watcher ships surrounded Earth's orbital station. Inside, Thomas gathered with the alien allies and his team. Vex stood with them now, fully committed to their cause. They won't attack directly, Vex explained. The Watchers don't believe in violence. They'll try to disable your systems and force evacuation. How long until the void storm reaches us? Thomas asked. Anna checked her screens. 24 hours. The outer planets will be hit first. The communication system crackled. Observer's face appeared on the main screen. Captain Reed, the Watcher said, this has gone too far. You risk not just your planet but others with this foolish attempt. We're trying to save everyone, Thomas replied. Something you never bothered to do. You don't understand what you're facing. Observer's voice rose slightly. The void storm has consumed thousands of worlds. Your quantum network cannot possibly. The void storm is a weapon, Thomas interrupted. We know the truth. We know you've been following it to collect specimens from dying worlds. Observer was silent for a moment. We preserve what would otherwise be lost forever. We maintain the memory of countless species. While watching them die, Anna said, you could have tried to stop it. It cannot be stopped. We'll see about that. Thomas cut the transmission. He turned to the others. We have work to do. For the next few hours, they fought an invisible battle. The Watchers tried to hack their systems. They sent signals to disrupt the emitters. But the humans and their new allies were ready. They blocked every attempt. Meanwhile, Marcus prepared for his role. Anna helped him into a special suit connected to the master control system. The quantum link will let you feel the entire network, she explained. Your thoughts will help direct the counterpulse. Marcus nodded. I've been practicing with the simulator. I think I can do this. Are you sure about this? Anna asked softly. There must be another way. There isn't time to find one. Marcus smiled at her. Besides, this gives my life meaning. How many people get to say they helped save multiple worlds? Outside, the void storm grew closer. Neptune disappeared from their instruments. Then Uranus. The darkness was eating the solar system piece by piece. In a last desperate move, the Watchers attempted to physically block the launch of the final emitters from Earth. Thomas ordered the space defense fighters to protect the launches. A strange dance played out in orbit as human ships blocked Watcher vessels without firing a shot. We don't want to hurt them, Thomas told his pilots. Just keep them away from our launches. Finally, the last emitter reached its position. The network was complete. 49 points of light arranged in a perfect pattern around the solar system. The 50th point was the orbital station itself, the master control hub where Marcus would guide the entire system. As Saturn disappeared from their screens, Thomas gave the order, power up the network. One by one, the emitters came online. Energy readings spiked across the system. On Earth, lights dimmed as power redirected to the massive project. Marcus sat in the control chamber, the neural interface connected to his head. I can feel them, he whispered. All 49 points. They're beautiful. Anna monitored his vital signs. Your brain activity is off the charts. Are you in pain? No, Marcus said with wonder in his voice. I feel everything. I can sense the void storm coming. It's alive, in a way. It has patterns, like a mind. Thomas watched the main screen as Jupiter began to darken. The void storm had reached the inner solar system. Their time was almost up. "Everyone to emergency positions," he ordered. "Final checks on all systems." The alien representatives joined their own people at control stations around the room. The Lith, the Marins, and the Ari, all working with humans to face the darkness. Observer's face appeared one last time on the communication screen. "Even now, we offer evacuation. Last chance." Thomas looked at the Watcher with steady eyes. "We choose to fight. Then you choose extinction." As the screen went dark, the sensors blared. The void storm had reached Mars. In hours, it would hit Earth. Marcus closed his eyes in the control chamber. "I'm ready," he said. "Let's make the impossible possible." The void storm hit Earth's atmosphere with a silent fury. Darkness spread across continents like spilled ink. In the orbital station, alarms blared as systems strained under the pressure. "Quantum network at 80% capacity," a technician called out. "Holding steady." Thomas watched the main screen, his hands gripping the console. The quantum emitters glowed like stars against the blackness, creating a web of light around the planet. So far, they were working. In the control chamber, Marcus felt each emitter like it was part of his own body. His mind stretched across space, touching every point in the network. Through the neural interface, he directed the counterpulses, pushing back against the void. "It's working," he whispered, his voice strained. "The storm is trying to break through, but we're holding it." Anna watched his vital signs with growing concern. His heart rate was too high. Brain activity was beyond safe levels. "Marcus, you need to ease back. Your body can't take this much stress." "No choice," he gasped. "Need to stay connected. Need to." His voice trailed off as he focused entirely on the battle in his mind. The void storm grew more intense. The emitters glowed brighter, fighting against the darkness. Then, without warning, 3 emitters on the far side of the network went dark. "We've lost sectors 7, 9, and 12, a technician shouted. "Power failure." Thomas grabbed the communication link. "What happened?" A frantic voice responded through static. "Something hit them, sir. We're trying to restart, but the systems are completely dead." Thomas looked at Vex. "The Watchers." Vex shook his head. "No, the storm is learning. It's targeting the weakest points." On the screen, the void began pouring through the gaps in the network. The darkness spread like fingers reaching for Earth. "We need to close those gaps," Thomas said. "Can we redirect power from other emitters?" "Not without weakening the entire network," Anna replied. "We need all remaining emitters at full strength." Thomas made a quick decision. "I'll go. I'll take a ship and manually restart those emitters." "That's suicide," Anna argued. "You'd be flying directly into the void." "We have no choice." Thomas was already moving toward the door. "Keep the network running as long as possible." Minutes later, Thomas's small ship blasted away from the station. He flew directly toward the damaged emitters, using the glow of the functioning ones to guide him. The void surrounded his ship like thick black fog. His instruments failed one by one until he was flying almost blind. Inside the control chamber, Marcus felt Thomas's presence as a small light moving through darkness. He reached out with his mind, trying to create a path through the void. "I can see you," Marcus said through the communication link. "Follow my signal." Thomas flew guided only by Marcus's mental beacon. The ship shuddered as the void tried to pull it apart. Warning lights flashed in the cockpit. The hull temperature dropped to freezing. His breath came out as white clouds. "Almost there," Thomas whispered through chattering teeth. Finally, he reached the first damaged emitter. Working quickly with numb fingers, he connected emergency power cells brought from the station. The emitter flickered, then blazed to life. He moved to the next one, then the next. With the last emitter reactivated, Thomas turned his ship back toward the station. But the damage was too severe. His engines failed completely. He was stranded in the void. Network restored to full capacity, the technician announced back at the station. The gaps are closed. Anna looked at the screen. Thomas, can you hear me? Thomas. Only static answered. On the status board, his ship's signal was gone. In the control chamber, Marcus's body convulsed. Something's changing, he gasped. The storm, it's shifting. I can feel it trying to break through in a new way. Anna watched in horror as blood trickled from his nose. Marcus, you need to disconnect. Now. Can't, he said through gritted teeth. Not yet. On Earth, people looked up to see a strange sight. The blackness that had covered half the sky was changing. Streams of light cut through it like cracks in glass. The void storm was breaking apart. It's working, Vex said in awe. The impossible is happening. Marcus's body arched in pain. One more push, he whispered. And with everything he had left, he sent a final pulse through the network. A blinding light filled the control room. Everyone covered their eyes as the main screen shattered from the energy surge. When they could see again, they rushed to the windows. Outside, the void storm was splitting apart. Great cracks of light cut through the darkness like lightning through storm clouds. The network of emitters pulsed in perfect rhythm, creating a wave that pushed the storm away from Earth. It's working, Anna whispered, tears streaming down her face. It's actually working. In the control chamber, Marcus lay motionless, the neural interface still connected to his head. Anna ran to him, fearing the worst. His skin was pale, his breathing shallow. Get a medical team here now, she shouted, checking his pulse. It was weak but steady. As the medical team rushed Marcus to the emergency bay, Anna turned her attention back to the battle outside. The quantum network continued to push the void storm, redirecting it around the solar system instead of through it. The blackness that had swallowed the outer planets was now flowing past Earth like a river diverted by a dam. All stations report, Anna commanded, taking over in Thomas's absence. One by one, the stations checked in. The emitters were holding. The alien allies confirmed their networks were functioning too, creating a united defense across multiple star systems. We're getting a signal. A communications officer suddenly called out. It's coming from inside the void. Anna rushed to the console. Thomas, is that you? Static crackled, then a familiar voice broke through. Still, here, ships, dead, but I'm alive. We'll send a rescue team, Anna said, relief flooding her voice. No time, Thomas replied. Storms, changing. Look, on their sensors, they could see the void storm was indeed changing. It was condensing, becoming denser but smaller, and it was moving in a new direction, away from all inhabited systems. The counterpulse worked better than we expected, Anna realized. It's not just redirecting the storm, it's reshaping it. Hours passed as they monitored the storm's retreat. Rescue teams finally reached Thomas, finding his ship battered but his spirit unbroken. When he returned to the station, the entire crew cheered. In the medical bay, Marcus began to wake up. Anna and Thomas were at his bedside when his eyes fluttered open. Did we win? He asked weakly. We did, Thomas said, gripping his hand. You did it, Marcus. You made the impossible possible. Marcus tried to sit up, then fell back, grimacing. Something's different. I can still feel the network. Even disconnected, I can sense it. Anna ran a brain scan. The neural interface changed you. Your consciousness is partly merged with the quantum field now. Is that bad? Anna smiled. Actually, your brain tumor is gone. The quantum energy somehow rewrote your neural pathways. You're not dying anymore. Outside the medical bay window, they could see the Watcher ships approaching the station. Observer had requested a meeting. Later, in the main conference room, Thomas, Anna, and a recovering Marcus met with Observer and a group of Watchers. The alien allies joined them. You have done what we thought impossible, Observer said, his voice humbler than before. The void storm has been redirected away from all inhabited space. Because we tried, Thomas said simply. Something you never did. Observer lowered his eyes. For thousands of years, we watched civilizations die. We collected their remains and called it preservation. We were wrong. Vex stepped forward. Many watchers now question our old ways. We wish to learn from humans and their allies. Not just learn, Observer added. Help. There are other threats in the universe, other worlds that need protection. We offer our knowledge, our resources. Thomas looked at Anna, then at the alien representatives. They all nodded in agreement. We accept, Thomas said, but no more watching from a distance. From now on, we take action together. Months later, a new alliance was formed. Earth led the way, with humans teaching other species about determination and hope. The Watchers shared their vast knowledge. The quantum network technology spread to hundreds of worlds. On Earth, people looked up at night and saw stars again. And with them, new emitter stations glittering like beacons, ready to protect against any darkness that might come. Marcus, forever changed by his connection to the quantum field, became the bridge between different species and technologies. His mind could touch the entire network, linking all worlds together. Thomas and Anna led the new Interstellar Defense Force, a group dedicated to protecting all life. You know what I find most amazing? Thomas said to Anna one night as they watched Earth from orbit. What's that? 6 months ago, everyone said stopping the void storm was impossible. Now we've changed the course of history. Anna smiled. That's humanity's greatest power. We don't accept impossible. We take action, and we make possible what others only dream about. Below them, Earth turned peacefully in the light of the sun, saved by those who refused to give up, those who chose to act when others only watched.